the four principles, cornerstones here that kind of make up the gist. Because I talked about Ben and Tess about Nazareth Farm, and there's going to be a lot more people.
Yeah.
So I feel like I kind of want like just an image of what this place is to get it through, you know?
Yeah. So Nazareth Farm, you know, in a way, I mean, we're a nonprofit where people live here full time. You know, they commit their lives or, you know, a year or so of their lives to living here, our staff members. And then folks come in and out, whether they're sojourners or volunteers, to, you know, experience Appalachia, to learn, to grow, to be on retreat, and to do the service work. And, you know, I tried, you know, speaking to folks to say, you know, it's not a pause in anyone's life. Like, this is a first job for a lot of folks. It is definitely a job. It's definitely not like college or somewhere else where everything's taken care of for you. Like, people maybe learn the hard way, or, you know, are a little easier in some senses where we still take weeks off at a time as an organization. But folks like have their first time, like, being, you know, taking care of their time off and knowing when they need to use it, or paying for more things, or showing up to work at, you know, certain hours and getting certain work done with supervision. So it's definitely a big learning experience, which I think is really great, with a lot of graces for learning and growing during that. But we frame it in the idea of the gospel in the cornerstones of prayer, community, service, and simplicity. And we talk about like Catholic social teaching, like human dignity is kind of like at the top of all of them. And if you believe in that, then that helps with everything else. But I mean, all the four cornerstones, I think it's really hard to say they're all equally important.
Yeah. You can't have a house with only 3 corners.
Right. But I guess we don't do foundation work. So I guess there's technically only one cornerstone in any building. It's just the starting point.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
I feel like someone just told me that. I mean, I'm sure I've been told before, but I would say, well, we don't do foundations. We just have 4 of them to help us out.
That's awesome.
So that's all right. But I was reflecting on this with someone else this spring, and I do think that one good starting point is the idea of simplicity. The fact that we like value getting rid of the distractions of technology, of being fully present, of talking to people, of making our own music, of having places where phones, computers are not allowed, you know, simple food. All of that kind of breaks down barriers so we can grow in better relationship, which allows, I think, community to flourish between the staff members, between our neighbors, between the larger world, like how we buy fair trade, or how we participate in our church community, or whatever that might be, the farmer's market. And then same with prayer, you know, having less barriers so that we can pray to God in whatever way strikes us at that moment in time, and being open to other prayer styles. And I think, I really enjoy getting to know other people's prayer styles, because I do struggle with that probably the most, maybe, you know, just finding that time to do it by myself. So I really like when other folks bring readings or have things memorized. I like don't have a lot of stuff memorized. Just like pull out this idea of theology from my head, or like certain practice of something. So I like getting to learn. And then obviously like service has so many things with the home repair, with the gardens, with hospitality and working in the kitchen, processing food. But then also sitting with people, that ministry of presence is really important. Yeah.
And we just covered a lot. And I think to start
you can tell me to slow down too.
No, it's great. A lot of information that we could dive deeper into it. So the community aspect, I think, is really felt because I've been here for 3 weeks, and it feels like I've been here for years.
And I think that's what draws a lot of people in, is the idea of, in college, as a staff member, but even as students, like, you're in college, I mean, you're surrounded by your best friends in a way. You just walk down the hall, a few houses down, you're in class together, eating all your meals together, whatever it looks like. And going to the outside world is scary, because all of a sudden maybe you're living by yourself, or you all go to different cities. So this idea of intentional community of folks who want to better each other, who want to watch out for one another, like have an end goal of sharing in prayer, sharing a meal, is really, I think, attractive to most folks. And I think that's what I hear. And I think that was part of what I even thought after college was, we're living in an intentional community. I didn't really know what that meant. It's a lot harder than it seems.
No, it is. And I think the way people live here helps each other become their truest self. Like, you drop all barriers that you had before of like fears, because everyone's just so open and loving. Like, I was terrified of like singing, and here it's like, it's just like everyone does it, so you just do it, and it's so cool. And
there's nowhere to hide.
There's nowhere to hide. You can't go. That was something I was actually struggling with, because I kind of just always was just by myself. Like I don't know. I just liked it. That's just the way it was. Yeah. And I'm like, during my interview, they're like, "Oh, you're going to be around a lot of people." I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine. I'm always around people." But I always just like locked myself in my room.
Yeah, you have a bunkmate now.
Yeah, now.
I do. Because Vincent just got here.
Vincent and then Ryan.
Oh, yes.
And so that's been a weird adjustment for me, just always being around people. But I'm growing so much in a short time, just because there's no boundaries anymore, and you kind of cut the weeds out in a sense, and now you could actually see the fruit and what it's bearing, and be like, oh, that is not growing like it's supposed to. Why is that? Maybe I need to give it more water, give it some more love. But so that's really cool how that works here. And the no technology, because it feels like iPhones or Androids.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It's everywhere. They're so addictive,
and it's such a distraction. And like that's why they're made. Like they try to distract you. Yeah. They just want you on there more. And coming here, no cell service other than in the farmhouse, with not the best Wi-Fi. Because at home we go on our phones and everyone's at the table just like scrolling. Like, please be with me. Like, why are you disconnected? So I love that aspect of it here. And also, I didn't know there was different. I thought it was like praying was just like sitting by yourself, just thinking. Yeah. And there's so many different forms, which is cool. So what forms of prayer have you encountered here? Because a lot of people that listen to this, well, not a lot of people listen to this, but a lot of people I know, myself included. Well, I'm a Catholic, so I'm okay with this stuff, but a lot of people aren't even religious anymore. So when they hear I'm coming to a place like this, they're like, like you, like Jesus freak, like what are you doing? But you come here, it's like not.
Yeah, there's a lot of, thinking of like spiritual, or like I believe in God, but I'm not going to allow that to dictate certain aspects of my life or whatever, like God's a thing that I pray to maybe, and believe in, but I'm not going to ask God what to do with my life. I think that's a lot of people's life nowadays.
So how have you found over the years that different people connect with him, whatever you want to call it, in different ways?
Yeah, I think it's something, I've grown into, because I would have said probably fairly traditional, especially right out of college, went to a lot of, we went to a Methodist college, so a lot of like Protestant faith groups growing up, just because those were the other people around. We had a small Catholic campus ministry. But yeah, I think just expanded my idea that God is in all that we do, and like that everything we do can be a prayer. It's kind of the idea that maybe, I don't know, is somewhere in the top 10 slogans of Nazareth Farm is that, all that everything we do should be seen as a prayer. And we talk about that hopefully on the tour, talk about that with students, in talking about it even just on opening prayer on Sunday, but just the idea of like, how do our actions glorify God, or like sing praises of other people, even like how, if I'm frustrated, am I going to voice that negatively, or am I going to seek help, or am I going to just ask for guidance? But then also appreciating creation, and this idea that, we're all, like, God created us to keep working on the earth and to be this idea of co-creators. So whether that's in gardening, whether that's in creating other people, whether that's creating goodness in the work or the art or whatever we're making as well, can all be seen as a prayer. And then obviously like the physical actions, gifts of service, like in James, the idea that our faith, again, Catholics aren't very good at just quoting the Bible, but this idea of, faith, you say, faith is, without works, but I would say, faith without works is dead. And the idea that, faith needs to be shown in action and love in action.
You can talk the talk, but
right. Yeah. But if you're going to say that I'll show you my faith through my works, the idea that God gave us abilities, that God has put other people, animals, creation in front of us, and we have a responsibility to take care of it. But I think also prayer, like I am not musically inclined at all. I enjoy music. So just getting to live with people and listen to other people play music, create their own songs, choir, especially when we have a good group week, like around, just a great chorus singing during Eucharistic services or even just other things, people on the porch. I mean, that's just like a gift that I don't have. So I can, find God in those moments with those folks as well. And you never know what the students are going to bring. And that's what's really exciting. And you'll get to see a lot of that. So we'll have folks praying different languages, different activities. Some like, oh, my church always does this thing with candles. And I've, oh, we've never heard about that. Or this is a meditation that I have. Or, so you just never know what you might find.
Which is awesome. And that's the weird thing that I've been not understanding why, but it seems like a lot of people hide their gifts. Like the other day, one of the students, I was like, oh, we need someone to draw. Does anyone want to draw? And I'm like, hey, do you want to draw? He's like, no. Like I don't like drawing. Like I'm not a good artist. Yeah. And then the next day he drew the coolest hand. I'm like, like what? Yeah. I'm like, why are you hiding this? Yeah. And this place like allows people to like actually shine and do what they love, which is really cool.
Yeah, I think that's, when we do, affirmations on Friday with the groups, a lot of people don't like to hear positive things about themselves, but whenever I'm introducing it, it's the idea of like people in the world, all people, especially kids, students, whatever age, just hear a lot of negative schools about, critiquing them or getting them better, or parents or their coaches just want them to do better. And if they fail, they're not going to make it forward in life, or they're not going to get this scholarship, or why aren't you like your sibling? But like, here, like, no. And in general, personally, I think a lot of people actually would say like, you are loved and deserve to know how much you are loved. And that's why we're doing this activity. That's why we want you here this week, so that you can be you and know that you are important for what you are.
Yeah. But it is hard to accept it.
Yes.
I that's one of the things I struggle with the most. I was literally just talking to my mom about it. I was like, yeah. But that it is, and I think it's, I don't know, are we just trained from the outside world just to, I'm not sure where that feeling comes from.
I'm not sure who, I think success, I think it's capitalism. I think it's the American idea that we can push each other down and succeed. If we look at the big corporations and certain political affiliations, or certain politicians, or, athletes who make millions of dollars, like a lot of it's money. And a lot of our parents' ideas, and I think our generation, people in their 30s or younger, I think we always heard that our parents were told their parents wanted to give them a better life, because it was hard. I think our grandparents growing up in the Depression or right afterwards. But like for me to thinking of me to have a better life than my parents, who easily middle class, suburban area. I don't need to have a better life than what they gave me. Like they make plenty of money. It was definitely comfortable. Like, I don't need to take more. What they had was great, and that would be wonderful. I could even have less and still be just as happy. But this idea of like everyone's life needs to be better as they get older is really difficult, because a lot of people aren't getting a better life because other people are taking more.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the stock market. It's like, how are you supposed to improve every year? Like, just be okay with what you have. Yes. Like, you don't always need to be making more. And I saw that a lot with the kids too. It's like, oh, we need to get these jobs to make money, to be happy. And that's something I came to when I was young. Like, I thought a lot. So I got to a point where I'm like, okay, what am I doing this for? Like, what is the goal here? And it was like, oh, it's to be happy. So like, why am I going to waste so many years of my life to make money? So I'm like, oh, so I need money to be happy? It's like, no, like you don't. Like you see the people here with economic poverty, and it's like, they're happy. Like, so you don't need money to be happy. So it's like, what do you need?
Right. Yeah. I think it's true. And different people come to it at different points. Like, I stopped playing high school sports, athletics, because I wanted more free time to do the things that I wanted to do. How did you reach that point in yourself, though? Well, I guess in a way, like, I got hurt. Like, I didn't have to have surgery, but I was off. I had torn some ligaments in different ankles and wasn't able to play for a club season, I guess. I kind of had to sit out the end of it and missed like a bunch of summer like conditioning for volleyball. And then decided to just like, at that point, I think I worked a summer job, like a different summer job, wanted to be involved a little bit in youth group, and just made other friends. And wasn't really that close, I guess, to some of the other folks that were playing, but also like knew, I don't know, a lot of people have the false reality, but like probably was not going to be playing sports for the rest of my life. Maybe could have gone into, scholarship for D2 or D3 or something if I really wanted to, but it was not going to be the next 40 years of my life. So why don't I do something else that I like instead?
So did you feel, because your mind was probably telling you like, stick to this.
Like it's fun. And I still enjoy it and competitive and got to play for fun in college and stuff. But yeah, it wasn't, just thinking the insane amounts of times, like it's all year.
Yeah, it's a lot. And I think it's hard when you're just like thrown in this path and it's just you'd been doing it your entire life and everyone's telling you to go a certain way. It's really hard to break off and do what you want. It's like our parents want what's best for us, but they don't know
all the time, right? And it's scary to see them do something different than you did. We see that when staff members of sojourners who want to spend time here and their parents are like, how can they take a year or two with not making income? And I don't know, especially right now, I think, like, do you see how expensive the world is? It's
ridiculous. Like, it's just going to get worse.
In a way, Nazareth Farm, like, we provide housing and some transportation in a way, food, if they need health insurance, like, the pocket money that a lot of people with lower income jobs, like, especially right out of college jobs, and with how expensive it is to live places, they're not taking home that much more money each month.
Yeah.
So it is a hard thing to kind of be like, it's hard to be far away. Is also a thing. Being in West Virginia is isolating and can't always get home, or we're busy with the group weeks too, but it is something different.
How do you